What's this? Another many interpretations of Ankylosaurus? Yeah, this is part two. I'm sure that many of you have pointed out that the previous video was pretty incomplete. And you're right, there are quite a few that I pretty much missed entirely, and that is 100% on me. I've had a lot of different things going on behind the scenes over here. My wife and I just got finished moving into our new house. I'm still working a full-time job, and I was basically just kind of like rushing that video out. And because of that, a lot of different media interpretations of Ankylosaurus kind of slipped through the cracks and unfortunately didn't make it into the video. And once again, that was completely on me, so I do apologize to anyone who was expecting to see some designs that didn't exactly show up in the video. So I do think that it's only fair to, make a part two to said video and include those ones that I completely missed out on and kind of give them the spotlight. That just seems like the fair thing to do, so let's get into it. First up is the Isle. The Isle typically has a lot of really good dinosaur designs, like in my opinion. I mean, some of them are extremely stylized and aren't necessarily accurate, but there are some that just look fantastic in my opinion, and I do think that the Ankylosaurus does look fantastic too. Now, the thing is I don't remember Ankylosaurus ever being in the Isle, so this was kind of like a nice little fun surprise. Like, of all the videos that I used to watch and things like that, I don't remember ever seeing Ankylosaurus, but it has a very solid design with the osteoderms and the club and how low it is to the ground. It looks really good, and especially in the skull. The skull, I think, looks fantastic, has the proper Ankylosaurus shape. It just, all in all, is a very solid design and is probably one of my favorites, honestly. Like, it just looks really good. Next up, we have from Dinosaur Revolution. This is a very cool documentary, all things considered. The Ankylosaurus shows up in what is quite a very sad episode, one that, highlights the KPG extinction, which is the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs. We get an Ankylosaurus that kind of gets messed around with by the young Tyrannosaur, as well as some young or some other small dinosaurs. Its design looks fantastic too. The skull looks great. It has the proper osteoderms. It does seem though like towards the shoulders, it kind of like has huge osteoderms, something that I don't really think was present on Ankylosaurus, and a relatively small club. Like, usually people will overemphasize the club, but here it seems to be relatively small, which is very interesting. But they do seem to be the proper orientation of the osteoderms instead of having like one just solid turtle back, like I mentioned in the last video. It's just small, or it's just the pebbles basically. So it's a decently accurate design. I mean, the feet are a little bit off, but it's a pretty accurate design. It's a pretty good design. Dinosaur Revolution has pretty cool designs in general. That's a documentary that we will get into more in the future. But yeah, this is a very good Ankylosaurus design. Next up is Ark Survival Evolved, and you could, if you heard about Ankylosaurus in Ark, you would probably get a pretty good idea of what they would do to design it, and you would probably be correct. Spikes. Tons and tons of spikes. Those osteoderms that Ankylosaurus has, just giant spikes. Completely solid armor back, spiked. Even the club is spiked. You don't want to mess with this thing. This thing will absolutely mess you up, and yeah, it'll mess you up. There's really not much else that I can say. Ark has a particular style that they go for. They exaggerate features like that on their prehistoric animals that appear, and this is just another example of that. And you could probably guess that they would add spikes all over it like that. And it does seem that one of the best games ever, Prehistoric Kingdom, does plan to one day add Ankylosaurus, and you can bet good money that would be a very good design. Prehistoric Kingdom has solid designs across the board. From the images that we can see, it, like I said, it will be a really good design. Like, the skull matches up, the beak looks really good, the osteoderms look fantastic. Really, nothing's too over exaggerated. This image in particular looks flippin' awesome, and the club is the correct shape and things like that, and the correct kind of flatness, essentially, the spade shape. I can't wait for this type of animal to show up in the game. I think that a lot of these earlier looks at these animals that we've seen are kind of up in the air on whether or not they will get added to the game, but I hope that Ankylosaurus does one day. I think a dinosaur of this caliber would definitely suit the game like that, and it would just, expand the roster in that way. So Hopefully it gets added one day because, you know, if it's along the lines of this design, which is, of course, a very accurate design, all things considered, then, you know, there'd really be no complaints for it on my end anyway. Next up, we have from Zoo Tycoon 2, where it has a very interesting looking Ankylosaurus design. The first thing that stands out to me is that it definitely does look armored. Some of these osteoderms are kind of emphasized, but the biggest thing to note is how absolutely huge that tail club is. Like, I mean, it basically looks like it's dragging it around because of how absolutely big it is. This certainly would have been a menace to any other predatory non-avian dinosaur around it. Like, this is just, it would be, yeah, it would definitely mess you up. And altogether, it just kind of like seems like a completely solid concrete block of an animal, which, I mean, that would probably suit Ankylosaurus quite well. I also do see, now forgive me, I'm not too well versed in Zoo Tycoon all in all, and I know that there are mods present in Zoo Tycoon, at least from what I gather. But it does seem that there are some, like a red variation of Ankylosaurus. I don't know if this is from another Zoo Tycoon game, but this one looks really cool. Like I said, it has like more of a red coloration with the orange legs and things like that, and the white club and the white spikes that are, you know, make up the osteoderms. These ones look really cool. Once again, I do not know if these are the official, like actually official to the game, to any of the Zoo Tycoon games, but in any case, they're very cool. But after that, we have Path of Titans, and I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking it too. Path of Titans does not have Ankylosaurus. Rather, it has Anodontosaurus, which is another ankylosaurid, very closely related to Ankylosaurus itself, of course, and shares a striking resemblance to Ankylosaurus. One of the best ways to differentiate them, at least for me anyway, is to look at the club. On Ankylosaurus, it has this type of spade look to it, whereas with Anodontosaurus, it has a kind of like a hammer-shaped club. You know, there's quite a difference there. There's some other differences included, but that's like the easiest way to identify it, at least for me. Now, I'm including this one because some people did mention that I did mention Sarchania with Dinosaur King, you know, Tank, who is a female, by the way. I completely forgot that. It's been years since I've watched Dinosaur King. Of course, I watched it when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, so I completely forgot that Tank was a female dinosaur rather than a male. But in any case, they mentioned that I did, you know, kind of mention Sarchania because I didn't think we were going to do many interpretations of Sarchania, so why not do that with Anodontosaurus? Because there's not too many media interpretations of Anodontosaurus, so might as well loop it in because it looks very similar to Ankylosaurus anyway. Might as well. I'm rambling. Let's get into it. Yeah, no, it's a solid design, all things considered. It's probably one of the funner, that's a word now. It's probably one of the most fun dinosaurs in the game to play. Of course, it's incredibly powerful, especially with the kind of hunker down ability where you basically kind of just crouch and then nobody can really do any damage to you. I mean, they do damage, just not a lot. And then you inflict a lot of damage. It's a very fun dinosaur to play as. And design-wise, it looks fantastic. You know, it's the continuous skin with osteoderms just randomly, or not really randomly, but just osteoderms throughout the body. The club looks great. The head looks great. There's not really any complaints for me. I love most Path of Titans designs. This is another great one. Since we're talking about Anodontosaurus, let's bring in Prehistoric Planet that features an Anodontosaurus at a certain point. Once again, you could tell it's an Anodontosaurus because of that club. But I really like this sequence because it's just a little sequence of, you know, post-forest fire. This Anodontosaurus comes in and it's just eating some of the charcoal. One of the reasons why I love that documentary. We get to see dinosaurs do more than just hunting and fighting. Very fun stuff. But it has like a very cool kind of green coloration. The osteoderms look fantastic, the way that they look in the skin. The club looks great, and the head looks great. Prehistoric Planet does very good with their designs. And even though it doesn't really have the most lasting appearance in the show, it's still one that kind of stuck with me. You know, I really like it. But while we're on that train of thought, there's another ankylosaur that makes an appearance, and that is, of course, Taria. Little fun fact, Taria here, along with several other creatures in Season 2, they were designed by Gabriel Ugueto. He's one of my favorite paleo artists. He's done a lot of really amazing work, and his design for Taria here is fantastic. I don't, you know, of course, I don't know too much about Taria in general, but, you know, from your knowledge of ankylosaurs and things like that, it looks great. You know, the osteoderms look great. It doesn't have like a solid turtle back. The club looks fantastic, and the whole situation that it was presented in with, you know, two Tarchias, as well as the Prenocephalae kind of like, you know, trying to confront them, but then getting scared off immediately. It was a very fun sequence. Season 2 was also fantastic for Prehistoric Planet. The show in general is just great, and their designs are consistently great, including this guy. But there we go. There are some of those that I missed in the previous video. Again, I do apologize for that happening. I'm going to, of course, be working a little bit closer to making sure that doesn't happen again. And if that means delaying a video by like a couple more days, then that's exactly what I have to do. I was just trying really hard to get the first video to try to get it out on that Thursday rather than missing a couple days, because I'm trying to stick towards a schedule. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have for this one. Another poll is probably up today because I usually try to do them the day after, and I did just do the Therizinosaurus video, so another poll will be going up. Make sure to vote for whichever creature you would like to see next, and that is the one that we'll cover. But that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good one.